Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. All right, again, welcome to today's Infrastructure Tuesdays. Today we're going to be looking at property sets in Civil 3D. And my name is Doug Benoit, and I am a Senior Technical Specialist here at US CAD. So let me just forward through. I do have a PowerPoint, but it's not very big. As soon as I get through about 3 slides, we're going to jump right into this. So let me just go forward one. Here's the civil team. I think probably many of you may have spoken to one of these guys in the past, um, or maybe you haven't. But anyways, that's our group from the civil side of things, and we've also got our Brian, who's kind of our uh, software application kind of specialist kind of guy. So again, that's typically who you'll be dealing with from the civil side. Again, this is me, and I've got a big window in the way. Let me see if I can get rid of this. There we go. So again, my name is Doug Benoit. I am a PE. I'm licensed in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Been doing the reseller side of things for over 20 years, and prior to that, I was at an engineering firm in St. Paul. And in terms of what I do, you can see I kind of mentoring, training, CAD management, CAD production, you name it, I kind of do it. So again, just a quick little thing about me. So today we're going to be going through, again, property sets in Civil 3D, kind of, what are they for? We'll define some property sets. We will automatically assign the data in property sets, show you how to remove it, just in case you've added it to the wrong thing or just want to kind of clean house a little bit. We'll add property set data or information to Civil 3D labels. We'll go through and create an attribute list, and then we'll export the property set data. I like that, data to data. Actually, it's supposed to go to Excel. You can also send it to an AutoCAD table. I did put together sort of I'll call it a handout, but it's kind of my notes. I kind of threw a bunch of things in here, and I should be able to share that, I think. So if you're interested in it, it's just got some steps in there, got some pretty pictures. But if you want it, it's yours. I don't see the option to provide handouts. But I guess if you want it, I can figure out how to get it to you. I thought there used to be a way to do handouts in here, but I don't see it. But again, if you want it, you're more than welcome to it. Again, I just kind of copied and pasted and put some pictures and things like that in there. So, but again, it's all yours if you want. So with that, we're going to dive right into the Civil 3D side of things. If anybody kind of knows me, I do tend to get a little long-winded, but that's okay. So let's jump into, and I am using Civil 3D 2022 as soon as I find it here. Okay, but this applies to 2021. I think it does go back, I believe, to 2017. I'd have to double check. But, and again, I think it was undocumented, I think, back in 2017, but anything prior to 17, you don't have access to it. So where we're going to be going is to the Manage tab, and right here is Define Property Sets. Okay, so what can you use property sets for? You can add additional data to not just Civil 3D objects, but to basically any object or entity in the drawing. It can be lines, it can be polylines, it can be blocks, it can be alignments, it can be pipes, anything, again, that's in a Civil 3D drawing. As far as I know, I guess I don't have out of the box just AutoCAD installed, so I'm not real sure if AutoCAD has access to property sets. They may or may not. I couldn't find anything. I didn't look real hard though. If you're just sitting on top of AutoCAD, you may not have access to this. I believe it was kind of set up for AutoCAD architecture and AutoCAD MEP. Okay. Oh, is there any sound? So hopefully, let me go back. Yeah, unmuted. Maybe that was prior. Let me just make sure. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. I do have the questions window up and the chat window up. Awesome on thanks, Jason. So I'll try to keep an eye on both of those as best I can. Again, sometimes I kind of get going and kind of forget to stop sometimes. But anyways, so again, on the Manage tab, again, define property sets. This will be, I'll kind of go through the workflow real quick, and then we'll go right into creating some things. But again, you can assign custom information to the objects, all right? And then this information can be shared with other Autodesk applications, one of those being Navisworks. I think it's still called Glue. Maybe it's not called Glue anymore. I don't deal with Navisworks, and again, if it's been changed, it used to be called Glue. You could share that information, okay? Now the workflow, it's actually fairly simple. Again, from the Manage tab, you're gonna go to Define Property Sets, and you will get this window. Again, I've made it a little bit bigger, just so that you can kind of see what's going on. And I do have a number of drawings open, so I'm just gonna bounce around inside here. And I just opened up this drawing just so that I could do something in here to show you. But really, all you're gonna do is you're going to come in, and I'm just gonna right click and say on the property set definitions, I'm gonna create a new property set definition. Now I'm just gonna call this delete me. I'm not gonna really use this for anything, all right? Now you can rename your property set here, or on the general tab, you can rename it over here. You can also provide a description if you want, all right? And then on the applies to tab, this is where you are going to tell it what you want to apply this to. So like if I come in here and I'm just going to select something, and I'm just going to type in PO for polyline. Notice I can do a polyline. Now, if I've got a drawing with feature lines and I've assigned polylines as the applies to, all right, I can't assign a property set that's set up for polylines to feature lines. I have to actually tell it I want to do polylines. And if I want to do feature lines, all I have to do is, again, I'm just going to type a couple little letters here. I can tell it feature line as well. So now I could do it to both of those. Okay. The one thing that you probably you want to stay away from is selecting them all, because this will affect performance. So even though you may be only using a couple of things in here, if I've come in here and I've said select all, there is a lot of stuff in here. Okay, so let me clear all, and I'll just do polylines again. Whoops. Good enough. There we go. Okay, so I tell it what I want to apply it to, and then I go to this definition tab, and then I can assign manual properties, automatic. Now, the only one I'm going to use today is just the manual, but the automatic, this allows you to assign properties. Now I'll go down to polyline, okay, that are associated to a polyline. So like the area, the color, the layer, the things like that, okay? That is what the automatic does. I'm going to cancel here. Otherwise, we've got formulas, we've got locations, we've got a few other things in here. Again, you'll have to explore some of these on your own. Again, time-wise, I'm just going to do some manual option properties in here. So I'm just going to add one, all right? And I'll just type in owner. Oops. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to use this. All right. I don't have a default to start with, so I'm just going to pick OK. And then all I have to do is come in here and I can give it a description if I want. All right. I can tell it what type of information I want to use. Is it just text? Is it a list? Is it an order increment? That kind of thing. Depending on what I select here, I may also get access to the source. When we do a list, I'll show you where you can tell it what the source is for that list. What do you want for a default value? Okay. I'm not going to worry about units because I'm doing text. And then the format, I do have some options in here. All right, and if I just uncheck or check this, pick this filter style type, it'll expand this list over here, and you can see right here, here's this property data formats. All right, so that's what they're talking about here. And I'll just select the first one, and you're just setting up that format. Suffix, is it undefined? That kind of thing. All right, I'm just going to use standard, just plain old standard. That's good enough for me. Okay, but that's what that column is. Oops, let me go back here. I got to get out of that. Down here, let me just turn some of that off. There we go. Okay, so that's what that standard is for. All right, and I'm not going to add anything. I'm going to mess around with this later, but you can also set the order of the properties by just putting in a number. All right, so if I had two of them in here, I could say I want the bottom one first. So I'd put here, I'll put one in here, just call it test, good enough. And I'm not going to worry about it. But if I wanted test to be first, I would just come over here. I could type in 1 and put in 2 for the other one. Okay, and again, I'll mess around with that and show you that as well. All right, but that's what how you set up a property set. Again, pretty easy. Again, I'm doing very simple little stuff in here, so it could be much more elaborate. And you can actually have multiple definitions in a file. So you could have things set up for piping. You could have things set up for property, things like that. Okay, so let me just cancel out of here. So that's what is involved. Again, just you're going to come in here. I'm going to go ahead and just pick OK. I'll leave it because I'm not going to keep this file. And then all I have to do is I'm just going to draw, a polyline. Okay. And in my AutoCAD properties, I'm just doing a Control-1 is all I did to fire that up. Is on the Extended Data tab. I select that polyline because it is a polyline. Notice I now have this Add Property Sets. Okay. If I do a line, okay, and I select that, notice these are grayed out. Okay. Because the defined property sets in the set that I defined, I told it I want to work with polylines. Okay. All right. So let me get out of this. I'm not going to save that. All right. So again, I'll run through those steps again. Again, pretty easy. So again, I've got some feature lines here. All right, and I've put them on styles and layers and things like that. Okay, so this is a gas line, and this I think I did this as fiber optics. Again, whatever works. Right, and I'm going to go to my define property sets. Right, and I'm just going to again right click. I'm going to go new. Right, and what I can do in here, and I just going to put in. I'm going to call this utility data. And again, I could have renamed it over here. I just wanted to show you could do either this general tab or when you create it the first time. Hopefully I spell everything right. And then I just select applies to. And again, I've got feature line. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to go feature line. And again, I'm going to do polyline as well because I want to show you when I get all done, I can remove everything. So I'm just going to do polyline as well, just to have it in there. All right. And then I'm going to go to the definition. So again, the first one, I'm just going to type in owner. And again, we don't have a default in here, so there's nothing to select because this is our first one. And then for the description, I can type in something else. Like if I want to put in owner name or agency or whatever, I'll just put in name, good enough. I'm just going to do text. So the source isn't available to me, and the default is just going to be owner. The format, again, I'll leave it standard, and the order, again, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, and then I can type, or not type, sorry, I can add another column or another property. All right, and this one I'm going to type in. All right. You do have to be careful with spaces because these are attributes. So I'm putting no spaces in here, but you could put underscores or dashes in here. Now, default wise, I now have access to the owner. So if I had set this up and this new property was very similar, I could just adopt all those, the description, the type, that kind of thing from the one I basically copied it from. Okay. But again, I can come in here, condition of pipe or utility. Of course, helps to spell things right. So you can come in here and do things like this. All right. Again, I'm going to go with text. Again, because I'm doing text, there's no source. The default, I'm going to put the lowest value for the condition of the pipe or utility. All right. And everything else looks good. And then let's do one more in here. So I'm going to put in date. Whoops. Or we'll do it this way. Let's go type. I'm just going to go ahead and pick OK in here. I just put type of pipe or type of utility. And I'm just making things up in here right now. So nothing magical. And I'm just going to type in utility, because this could be a gas main. Again, we've got gas, could be fiber optics, could be sanitary. All right. And if I wanted, say, the owner first, okay, I could come in here and say 1, but I want the type to be second and that to be third. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. And then I can select these individually, excuse me, or I can select them both, go to the extended data tab. And again, because these are feature lines, and as part of my definition, I said I want to use feature lines or polylines. This add property sets is now available. Okay. And then I just tell it which property set I want to use. So again, you could have multiple in a file in your template. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. I'm just going to hit escape. I think we're okay there. And then all I would have to do is I could come in here and say the owner, again, this is gas. Oops. My mouse likes to kind of float off of this. There we go. Stay there. All right. And I would just come in here and type the values that I want. Okay. And then I would just repeat that on the next feature line, the next feature line, the next feature, that kind of thing. Now, right now, what I've got is I've got my pick add turned off. I just turned it off up here. So that allows me to select one and then it selects the previous one, right? So again, a little bit of work, but you could assign that additional data, and it could be much more than this. I mean, you could have an install date in here, and this is all dynamic. So if I did actually come in here, whoops, sorry, wrong one. And I go back to my defined property set. Okay, I can come back in here and say, you know what, I want to add something else. Let me just call it date. I'm just going to leave that. And then this could be, again, install date. All right. And for the default, I could do something like this. All right. And then when I pick OK, and then I select one of my feature lines and I go to the extended data, okay, that information is there. All right. So again, you can add things individually. All right. You can also, like I did on these two, I could select, I got some additional feature lines in here. All right. And again, these are feature lines, and I can do it this way. Okay. And now these all have that information. Okay. Now, if I want to remove something, if I came over here and said, oh, I didn't mean, I have a feature line, but this feature line is for something, it's for grading. All right. I can come over here and actually remove that property set. Okay, and I just tell it I'm going to remove it. I pick OK, and so now when I'm going to pick on this one and then let it refresh there. Notice that property set information is gone. So the question was, what's the final product? Well, the final product is, I mean, ultimately, I'm going to create an Excel spreadsheet if you want it, or you're just adding attribute data to objects so that again you can move this into other products. I can create. We're going to create an AutoCAD table. We can do a schedule. Again, I can send this into an Excel spreadsheet. So again, the properties that I'm adding are perhaps a wee bit too simple, but whether they're simple or a bit more involved, the process is the same. Oh, let me make this bigger here, resize this. The property sets are saved in the file. Yep. So again, if you found these beneficial, found these worthy of being used, you would create them in your template, and they would be available whenever you grab that template. What would be the reason the extended data isn't showing in the data tab? So the reason it may not show up in the tab is if you, let me get back in there. The first thing that I would check is if it's not showing up in the tab, verify that you've applied it to the right object. You need to find property set in the command line. I don't believe you can. The command you would type, well, I think the command that you would type would fire up this window. Because in the command line, if you set it up in the command line to set this up, the problem is you'd have to know what you're going to type out of this huge list of objects. I don't think I would want to try to define it using the command line, just because of this guy right here, and potentially even what you might have in here too. This by far would be way easier, I think, than doing the command line. I would probably bet. But that's it. So on the one question in terms of it's not showing up, that's the first thing that I would take a look at is, do you have it applied to the correct object? Hopefully that helps. All right, so let me cancel there. I'm going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me come in here and I'm going to change this. Whoops, gosh darn it. My mouse does it all the time. Just kind of floats off that window. I'll stay there. There we go. It does. There we go. Good enough. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's say I want to clear some of these out. Yep. And Kirk, that's exactly what I was going to use next. So I was going to show you that you can clean this out by, I think I must have already done that. Nope. Oh, I've got mix and match in there. I'm going to remove the definition from these objects. The other thing too is I did on purpose come in and give this a different type, but I'm also going to remove this to show you that once I do this, whatever I typed in there is gone. And you're absolutely right. If I wanted to automatically add a property set definition to, again, in my case, they've got to be feature lines or polylines, right? I'm going to type in the AECPS auto attach. Okay, I'm just going to turn it on. All right, and now when I select these, it just added it to them. you know, the only issue you could run into is, again, if you've got feature lines in here for grading, or you've got polylines that you're just using as polylines, it's going to add all this information to those entities. Okay, so again, not the end of the world, but you can just kind of be aware of that. And if I had the auto attach on, all right, I have to actually turn it back off if I want to start kind of cleaning house a little bit. So if I went into and typed in the AEC PS auto attach, okay, I can turn it off. All right, and then that would let me, again, if these were being used for grading, I could now clean those up. Okay, so I could come over here and do this. Or if I really kind of made a mess of things, I could go back up into my defined property sets and go back into my applies to for that definition. And I'm going to remove the feature line option. Let me go feature line. So now all I have is polyline. I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. All right. And now what I can do is I can type the property set clean. All right. Now I've only got one in here, so I should be able to hit enter. And so it removed everything property set wise from every feature line. Now, if I had polylines, those would still be okay. Okay. Question is, will this work with the ArcGIS connector? That I am not sure of. I guess if it's in the list, if I would check. I guess if it does show up in here in this applies to list, then I would say yes. If it doesn't, then I would probably say no, it doesn't. I gotta do this here. Yeah, so there's, let's see, ArcGIS, okay. Next question was, can you use it for project design and plan production? Yes, that's actually coming up. Okay. So Josh says that he can confirm that you can publish these property sets to ArcGIS. Okay. That's actually good news. And Jason was asking about using map export. You know, Jason, I did not check to see whether those would go out with map export or not. If there's a few moments, I'll try it. Oh, Jason says they do. Okay. So they do go out with map export, and you can publish these to ArcGIS. Okay. So again, I mentioned Navisworks. I mean, it just was, I threw that in there, but again, Autodesk is trying to make these guys behave with other products other than just Civil 3D. So, okay, so let's see where I'm at. I think, okay. Okay, so let me cancel here. I'll just I'll keep going. All right, let me get out of this guy. All right. The next one that we're going to take a quick look at is how do we use the property set data with our Civil 3D labels. Right. So what I've got in here is, whoops, sorry. I close that one. So what I've got is, again, I've got some property set data that I'm going to add to these. Right now, there isn't any. Okay. So again, process is the same. I'm just going to go to manage. I'm going to go to define property set. All right. And I've already come in here and set some of this up. So let me go to, like if I go to pipe, okay, I've said pipe. I do have some pressure pipe in there, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. You just have to tell it, you know, pressure pipe. So pressure part, pressure pipe. You have to go to attributes. So if I wanted to do attributes, all right, sorry, appurtenances. Okay, pertinence right there. If I was going to do fittings, all right. And then I did do structures, and that's really all I did. I just checked structure. So all I've got in this case selected is structure and pipe. Okay. And I created a few of them in here. Just again, date, owner, SUV value, the type. So again, basically what I did before. So it's very similar. I do have, again, this one's empty, but I did create another definition here just to show you that you can have multiple in here. So again, if you were doing parcel data, some additional things in terms of address and things like that, you could put those in your template. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK here. Good enough. And I'm just going to select these guys. Come here. Here we go. And we're going to go select similar. So I'm just going to do the manholes. Go to my extended data and just add that property set. Okay. And you can see in here, again, the custom data is empty. So I don't want that one. But there's my utility data. I pick OK. All right. And now, again, owner utility value is in there. So I could come in here and type city. And I'll just put city in there. All right. Utility, again, I'm just using simple things. I'll just call this storm. The value in terms of its condition, I'll say is B. And I'll put a date in here, just put in. All right. Whoops. All right. And you just repeat that. And I didn't do an automatic one because it would add everything in here and I didn't want that. So now how do I get this label to display this information? So I'm just going to go into the edit label style. All right. Now you could create a separate component for each definition or each property. I'm just going to add it to the structure text. All right. I'm not going to add it to the incoming and the other. I'm just going to go to the structure text. And just like any other label, I'm just going to go and edit the contents. All right. And then I'm just going to type in owner. So we'll go owner. And what I have to do is notice up here, like for the sump, the rim, the name, there's the less than, greater than, and then the brackets. I just have to repeat that for the most part. Okay. So I'm going to go less than with the bracket. I type in PS for property. Whoops. Property set. And I'm going to type in the colon. Now, the definition and the attributes are case sensitive. So I have to make sure that I'm typing in the same as what I've defined. And this was, whoops, utility data, okay, colon, and then I'm going to type in owner, right? And then I put the greater than, whoops, the bracket, sorry, and then the greater than symbol. Now you can copy and paste, I'll try to show you one, see if I can do it. Let's go copy that. See if I can mess up the bottom one. And I'm just going to type whatever was in there. So we have SUE and again, utility data, and this is going to be, so you see what happens when I just did a single left click in there and it highlights the whole thing. So if I'm not careful, it'll just clean everything out for me. So like if I see if it'll let me do it here. Nope. Okay, that one worked all right. Normally what I've been doing is just kind of doing it this way. This was going to be type. I'm going to do one more in here. I think I had date in there. I think this was date, I think. And we'll find out. But if I try to do something like this, see how if you're not paying attention and I just start typing over, you can't really, as far as I can tell, it's hard to use your mouse and highlight something. You kind of you can do a shift, use the arrows and do it that way. But if you're not careful, you'll clean everything out. Okay. But that's the process. You're just going to put in the less than, the greater than brackets or symbols or characters, the brackets. You're going to put PS in there for property set, colon, the name of the definition, the name of the attribute, and it has to match. Okay. That's the only real key. And if I did something wrong, so like in this case, you can see my Sioux value is incorrect. So what I would do is I just come up here, I go to my utility data. Well, I found out that the name is actually Sioux value, not just Sioux. Okay. Let me see. Let me go back in there. So now I have been typing, but you can use the property sets. So if I did utility data, so let's just see what we've got in here. So let me type in Sioux value. That's what that was. And I'll add it in. I'll add it in again. So let's come down here and I'm going to go, I'm going to put the number 2 behind it. Okay. So again, a couple of different ways you can do that. I've just been typing it in there, but you can pick it. Again, the outcome is the same. Okay. So yes, you can use the property sets tab. All right, so pick OK. I'll pick OK. All right. So that's how you can add those to the labels. Okay. All right, let me make this a little bit bigger here so I can keep an eye on that. Can this be used as a field? You know what? Let's test it. I want to test it quick. That's good enough. That's good enough. I'm not seeing property set as an option in here. Now this isn't, the fields tend to be more AutoCAD geared. I know the sheet sets are in here. Um, I don't think you can assign a property set within a field, though that would be pretty awesome though. Well, I had all, if I go objects, block placeholder, block name count, formula, named object. Object. See, the problem with the object is you'd have to select it. And that has to be in the drawing someplace. So you could probably assign, if I came in here, let's see if I pick this. Nope. Named object, named object. And these are all blocks. Yeah, I don't, boy, I'm not seeing any way of applying a property set attribute to a field. AEC project. See, this is looking for in a database. I don't see, unless there's a way through some kind of expression or something. I'm not aware of that. Let's see, you can put fields in the property set attribute default values. That, yes, what they're saying there is if I come in here, whoops, let me get out of this. Let me just select this guy. So in here, you can insert a field. But what you're trying to do is I think you're trying to go the other way though. You're trying to insert a property set into a field versus a field into a property set. So yeah, I knew the field option was in here, but I think we can't go, we can go, again, we can add the field to the property set, but we can't add the property set to the field, I don't think. Yes, I think that's where we're trying to get to. Okay, so let's see where I'm at here. So let me cancel here. All right, so again, you can add those property set information. Yeah, again, I kind of, I agree. I mean, it would be nice if we could have a field. We just can't, we're not able to get access to the property set information. Yeah, I mean, we're just, again, the problem is right here that we can't, is that we can't get access to that property set information in here. Again, even if I pick object, I mean, it would have been nice if I could have grabbed, say, this guy here. You know what? I wonder if you know what? Let's try. I have another file coming up that's got. No, that's okay. No, kind of makes me think. I got some polylines. When we get to the polyline, this property set, let me try it again and see if I can pick on an object and see if that data is in there. So no, that's okay. I zig and zag where you guys want me to zig and zag. I'll take a look. I don't know everything. It's pretty tough to know everything anymore. So, okay. So again, that's adding Civil 3D or adding property set attributes to a Civil 3D label. Again, I typed it in manually, but again, you got the whole property set tab there too. Again, whatever works. The outcome is the same. Had to torment you a little bit. So, all right, let me close out of that. Okay. Now, how do I how do I set up? So when I come into my extended data and I select this object, how do I set a drop-down list or an attribute list set up so that I don't have to type it? I can just put whoever I might be dealing with in your, in my area. Again, these are just super generic. How do I create this list so that I can just pop this list down and select it? Same thing with the condition of the pipe. Okay. How do we create that? So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to my property set. Again, this is all created the same way. All right. Now I'm going to check something here and see if it'll show up. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to add to this list definition. Now, you could come in here and add multiple things in here. Okay, you can see I've got owner, there's the SUE value. All I would have to do is come back in here and say, I'm going to add a new one. All right, and I'm going to call this type. Okay, and notice I've got a different look over here. I still have the general tab, so I can still, type of utility, that kind of thing. I still have the applies to, right? Now the applies to doesn't have that big list. I'm actually going to just do a manual property definition, but you do have space names and zone names. I'm going to do manual property definition. I'm going to go to the items tab, and I'm just going to come in here and add all of, again, I'm going to use very generic names. I would come in here and just start adding, we'll just call this storm, and it doesn't matter. It will kind of sort alphabetically all the different types of piping that this might be. Whoops, I've already got that in there. Let me go water. Whoops. And I'm going to add one more just as like a generic name. I'm just going to come in here and call it utility. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. All right. So now that I've got that set up, I'm going to run back up to my property set definition, and I'm going to add another one. Okay. Now this is going to be the type. Okay. Now if I wanted to, I could again use default because I do want the list, but I'm just going to run through everything. Again, I'll leave the description, very simple. Not sure what you're asking there in that last one. Run through the list part again, maybe. So under type, I'm going to tell it I have a list, and then this is where I have access to the source. And this is why you could have a whole list of different things in here, because you might actually have, parcel information. I just called it attribute, just gave it a name. But this could be, again, utility data. I could have parcel data. I could have whatever. I'm going to select my type. And then the default, I'm going to just use this kind of default utility name. Okay. And again, I'm not worried about the order or anything like that. Oh, how do you get into this part? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pick OK here. And I'll jump back into this. So let me go OK. All right, so let me Okay, so I go extended data, and there's that type again. So what I did is I went up again, went to manage, and I went to define property sets. All right, and what you're going to, and again, I don't know why Autodesk does it this way, and we all kind of wonder sometimes what Autodesk likes to do, why they do things. But this filter style type is already, I'll say, selected when you get in here. If you select this, this will expand. It'll give you access to list definitions. Here's your schedule tables, your property data. So again, everything is in there, but what they do is, like if I pick, say, property data and I turn that filter back on, notice what it gives me. Okay, so I have to actually turn it off, then I can select something else. If I came down here, say list definitions, so you can kind of see what it's doing. So whatever you have selected, when you filter it, that's what you get. So hopefully that helps. So yeah, it all comes down to this. I haven't really used much across the top here. So let me go back to here. Okay. All right. So again, I set up a new list, and you can add as many as you wanted to. Kind of keep track of where I'm at here. Oh, and then I'm going to go just hit OK here. This should be OK. All right. And then now when I select this object and I go to the extended data and I go to utility again, I now have that drop down list so I can pick. Again, I'm just using very generic names. And this is all dynamic. So if I went back into, again, I'm going to go back into my define property sets. And I'm going to expand that again. Let me go back to my list definition, and that was owner. And okay, so I'm going to call this the city of Doug. Okay, it's already there, but now when I go back and select my object, go into my extended data, there's city of Doug. So it's all dynamic, updates pretty much immediately. Okay. All right, so that's how you create a list. Again, pretty simple. And you can see I'm not really using a lot of things in here. I mean, to do, I'll say, kind of basic things. I'm just using, again, I created a list definition. Some of these I think were already in there. Same thing with the property data formats. I didn't create any of these. Again, I don't know if I have a file that did, or I'm not sure if they've already been created and they're just in here. I'm not sure. But they do give you an example of kind of how they have these set up. Okay, and again, the list definition, again, super easy to create. The one thing I didn't point out is this option right here to allow individual property values to vary from the list. If I check this box, what that allows, I'll say, the user to do is if they get into that drop-down list over here and it's not available, so let me pick OK. So if I get over here and I go to extended data and it's not in this list, I can just type it. So I could say this is, I don't know, I'll just type in junk. Whoops, gosh darn mouse. Here, we'll just call this junk. Okay, so by checking that box allows me to actually add, I shouldn't say add to the list, but allow me to enter in a custom value different than what's in the drop-down list. Okay, and you can see it already updated. Okay, all right, let me close out of that. And then the last one is how do I take this property set data into Excel? All right. So again, what I've got here, and we'll try the field thing because these are just polylines, and they do have extended data. I've just got name and that kind of thing in there. Okay. So that's really all I've done. Is if I go back into my defined property sets, you can copy property set information from, I'll say, one drawing to another or into another property set. Will it copy everything? That is a good question. I did copy and paste a few things, but I just copied and pasted internally a little bit. I didn't actually grab a list and see. I mean, we could certainly, let's try it. Let me, I'm going to try it since it's fresh in my mind. I'm going to open up this guy. I'm just going to see if I'm going to see if I can copy it into another drawing. So I'm going to go copy. Okay. And let's just see if I go back in here and let's just see what I get. Now, how do I paste in here? Paste. Oh, shoot. I got two of the same name. That's okay. Let's see what happens. Rename to unique. Okay. Now, in this case, both of these are using, I'm going to say no, because I added the type to this. So this one here, or did, oh, you know what? I didn't save it. Oh, shoot. Okay. You may have to check that on your own. I forgot that I didn't save the file. I actually added another list. And the problem is this attribute and this attribute are the same, so they're going to use some of the same list definitions. So you may have to check that on your own, but you can copy. Everything came over from this list, so maybe it will. Maybe it will. I mean, if this is using a list, I would say yes, but I'm not 100% sure. So let me cancel there. Let me go back into here. We'll get rid of this guy. I should have saved it, but I didn't. Let me go back into here and okay. Since I didn't save it, that's okay. Perfect. All right, and I'm not using those anyways. So again, what I've got in here is, again, let me go back to my property sets. I've got this parcel to Excel, got a few things in here. All right. So now again, I'm going to type it, but so how do I create something that I can now take into Excel? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a schedule. Right. I'm going to go into style. Right. And I'm going to go into, now again, I can get into the tables this way too. I can select this. You can do, you know, it takes you in here and highlights this. And this is why I think using the command line, I don't think you would be able to use the command line to do property sets, because whatever the command they give you is probably going to open this up, is my guess. Just like I typed in the schedule, I picked on style and it opens the style manager up. So I'm just going to go new. Again, process is pretty much the same. I'm just going to go property set data to Excel. Okay. I'm going to go to applies to, and I'm doing polylines. All right, I'm going to go to columns, and I'm going to add a new column. All right, I'll do owner first. So I'm just selecting it over here. I'm going to add it, and I'll add another column, and I'll do assessment. I'll pick OK. All right, and then I'll pick OK. All right, and then I'm just going to hit enter here because I'm done with that, and I'm going to do a schedule. Oops. Now, if I do just a schedule add, I actually need the dash. If I just do a schedule add, oops, come here. It doesn't let me do what I need to do. So I actually have to do the dash. And now it's asking me the style name. Now I've only got the one table in there, so I'll just hit enter. It's going to run me through a number of questions like using the layer wildcard. I'm just hitting enter. I don't have any XREFs in here, so no. I don't have any blocks in here, so no. I'm not going to add any objects automatically. If I were actually, this was a base map or something like that, I would say yes in here. But Again, I'm just going to grab everything that I have, which is just those three. Automatic update, I'll say yes in this case. So if I make any changes, and then I'll just select my objects. I just have the three of them. I'll hit enter, and it's going to ask me for a corner, and I'm just going to grab here. I'm going to make it bigger. There we go. And that's what I get. Okay. Now, this here is dynamic. So if I came over here and went to my extended data, all right, so I can come in here and make changes. All right, you can see it automatically updated. Again, I've got my pick-add turned off. You guys know it's already coming here. Okay, so again, it is dynamic as I type and change things. Now, before I go into the property sets, I'm going to add another column here, but I'm going to show you that from here, I can select this schedule and I can say export. And then I can tell it what I want to export it to. So I'm just going to do an Excel spreadsheet. I'm just going to do a browse. You can see how many times I've been messing around in here. We'll just call this 3. Whoop. All right, and I pick OK. And let me get into that folder. Whoops, wrong one. It's in here. Okay, so there is that into Excel. Again, this is super, super simple stuff that I'm throwing in here. All right, now I'm going to close this. And what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to save it because I didn't do anything. All right, I'm going to go back into my defined property set. Actually, I'm going to do this first. Let me do a table first. So I'm going to create an AutoCAD table out of this. So I'm just going to go convert to table. Just going to pick a point, sneak it over about there we go. All right, so now that is an AutoCAD table. Now again, to me, what I'm about to do is to me, this is another kind of wish list item for me. I'm going to go up to my property sets, and for my parcel to Excel, I'm going to add another one. I'm just going to call this address. All right, that's good. Text is fine. Default, I'm just going to go 123 main. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. And I'm not sure why that didn't update. That schedule should have updated. Not quite sure why it did not. Just see if I do a regen. No. So the information is there. Why did I not say update? I'm going to do another one here. Oh, I know why. Hold on, I know why. I forgot. I have to update my my table. Forgot one step. I forgot to update my table. So all I just have to do is add column, add my address. There we go. One quick little step. All right. So I can get my schedule table to update. However, this does not. To me, I see that as another kind of wish list item. Is if I had an AutoCAD table, I think that table should also update. And I found no way of updating that table so that it reflected everything that was in the schedule. And you can kind of guess already that the spreadsheet, there's no link to that. It just, there's no new column in here. Now, this I could kind of expect, but to me, I think this should have updated. But again, maybe why would I need this if I actually have this? I don't know. Again, my thoughts. Okay. All right. Any other questions? I've been trying to catch them all. I might have missed maybe. I think I got them all. Yeah, I think I'm going through them here real quick. I think I got them. Okay, so one last thing, since I'm already over time anyways, I'm going to try this, and let's just see. This is fine, this is fine, this is fine. All right, now let's come on down here to, let's change this to object, since we know it's not there. I'm going to go object, and I'm going to go object. I'm going to grab one of these polylines. See, none of the property set information is available to the fields. Again, I can make a field. I can make a field. I can add that field into the property set itself. Let me. If I had xrefs, I'll say yes, because all I did is I did schedule here. We'll do it one more time. Or no, it was actually this way. Sorry, let me back up one. It was dash schedule add. And again, I don't have one in here. So right here, so scanned xrefs. So again, if there, I didn't run through that or didn't test that, but I'm wondering if you've got an xref that has property sets, and again, everything matches, it would scan that xref and say, okay, you've got this xref that has these owners, this assessment, this address, and that xref is polylines. Again, I'd have to test it. Let's see what we have in here. I'm going to check a link real quick that somebody sent. We'll see. So yeah, you can insert fields into the property set definition, but again, we can't go the other way. So they are using, okay, so let's slide this over. We'll take a quick check here. I'll come back over here. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's purge that one out. Back into here. Again, I'm doing polylines. Yeah, so the example that they're showing here is, these are just text, automatic. Let me go look at automatic. Cancel here. Oops. Alphabetical color area. See, I'm just not getting access to, I guess I'd have to do a little research. Oops. See, again, you can insert the field here, but yeah, some of this you may have to explore on your own and see if you can get it to do what you want it to do. You know, in the life of things, I mean, it's a few years old, but still relatively new. I found things like, I think in 2017, it was undocumented commands, and I don't know if it was made available until 18 or 19. Again, I don't have 19 installed, so I couldn't check, but so it is still relatively new. But yeah, and there's certainly some things, and I'm with you guys, there's certainly some things that I think it should be able to do, but right now it doesn't seem to be doing it. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but it just doesn't do it right now. And again, I'm in 2022. All right, any other questions? So again, this was my goal today. Again, I went way over, and that's okay. There's my email address. It's just doug.benoit@uscad.com. You guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, everybody.